Thank you very much. Shavua Tov. I've never been introduced like that before. A little cheesy. First of all, before I say anything, I'd like to say from the deepest part of my life that I feel very blessed to be the Rav of this Kehillah. I really perhaps love every single person. I love giving out the candies, even though one of the kids said last week, like, if you're the candy man, who's the Rav? I'm sorry to confuse the children, but I feel it just said to my wife as we were walking here, I said I was a little nervous about the evening. What I was nervous about was, will there be a ruach of siyata d'shmaya, and will it all come together? And I think thanks to this panel and everybody who was involved, and thanks to you, it has come together, Baruch Hashem, and it should only keep on going, Michayil Chayil.
Amen.
I'd like to make the following statement. In my opinion, we don't need a building. We need a revolution. Buildings unto themselves are not important. What's important is what the building represents and who the building represents. When it came to the Beis HaMikdash in Yerushalayim, when there started to be a divide between what the Beis Hashem was like and what it was meant to represent and the people that surrounded it, the building ceased to exist. So it's really what we really need to speak about and think about, I believe, as a Kehillah, is what is the big movement that we should participate in, and then how somehow a building will crystallize that and give us a place and the kavod and the prestige and the makom for our children and the kiddush that we can have in order to go further. I don't have to tell you that we are living in what seems to be a dark golus. It's dark, but there are wonderful specks of light throughout. I don't want to be negative just for the purpose of being positive, but anti-Semitism, once again, from our own Har Nof to Paris to Miami, seems to be making a comeback. V'yaleinu Hashem Yishmar. On the one hand, it seems like the Jewish people are on trial again. Should we exist? Do we deserve to exist? And on the other hand, Baruch Hashem, the world, and especially Eretz Yisrael, first of all, Eretz Yisrael is here, Baruch Hashem for that, and it's dotted with Chesed, with Torah and Talmidei Chachamim and Makomos of Torah. Every kind of Jew, whether they're our kind or not our kind, is Baruch Hashem has representatives that are growing, and it should only increase.
Amen.
But at the same time, and this is really where I feel we need to work, besides for coming up with money, there is, we feel it now, pre-election time, there is too much fragmentation. It's too much. It just doesn't, it's not right. It's not right. It's treif. There's a lot of confusion. There's way too much sinas chinam. And very often we find that the ikr becomes a tuffle and the tuffle becomes an ikr. And I think that it takes just one speck of light that can come forth from the people in this room and turn into a beacon of light and join with other beacons of light to try to make this, try to turn around this country. That's what a revolution is. Turn things around. I want to tell you, to Shabbos is supposed to tell a story about Malka Sushi. I want to tell you the story of Shmuel Eichenbaum, Zecher Tzadik Livracha. Did anybody hear of Shmuel Eichenbaum? So he was the wealthiest Jew in Lublin, Poland, in 1920. Passed away in 1926. And he was the owner, as a Gevir, he was a Gevir. He was the owner of the most prime real estate in Lublin, the 5th Avenue of Lublin. The address was Lubitrowski, number 57. Hot real estate at that time. At that time in Poland, and I try to be somewhat of a student of history and learn from it. At that time in Poland, there was a huge amount of assimilation. The assimilation came about because Jews that were shtetl were impoverished. It came about because of the lure of secularism, which was very, very strong, the Enlightenment, so-called Enlightenment. It was pulling thousands and thousands of people's children away from Yiddishkeit. And as that was happening, the reaction of those that stayed was a divided reaction. Instead of coming together and figuring out what do we do about the problem, we divided. That's what happened. At that time in 1924, I don't know if you know the history, but great countries were starting to close their doors to the Jews, including the United States of America and the UK. So Poland was a place where Jews had to be, and assimilation, it was going like so quickly. So there was a Rav in Lublin by the name of Rabbi Shapiro. Everybody heard of him because he founded the Daf Yomi. But he did something else. He approached Eichenbaum and he said, you know that piece of property that you have on Lubtrowski 57? I want it. And Lubtrowski said, what are you going to do with it? He said, I want to return the prestige of Rabbonim, of Batei Knesios, of Batei Torah, Yeshivas, Batei Midrashos. I want to have the nicest building in Lublin, which was the nicest city in Poland, that everybody will talk about. And by having that building, we'll take one step forward in Machzir Atorah Yoshna and making Yiddishkeit sound. And Eichenbaum said, you've got it, Rabbi. It's your building. It's your estate. They didn't have a building, just had a piece of land. And Rabbi Shapiro died very young, unfortunately, spent the rest of his life building that building. In that 1924, when they laid the cornerstone for the Yeshivas Chachmei Lublin, 50,000 Jews came. And 50,000 Jews sang, and they cried, and they were so happy because they saw in the laying of that cornerstone something much more than a building. This was a building that had gardens. You know, when we think of Poland, we think of black and white pictures. They actually have green there, flowers, the sky is blue there. It had gardens, indoor gardens, outdoor gardens. It had a dormitory, one of the first in Europe in history. It had a kitchen. It had electricity. Almost no building at the time had electricity. It had indoor plumbing. You didn't have to go outside. It had a library which was set up looking like a library, like the kind we all grew up with 20,000 books. And the goal that Mayor Shapiro said was there should be 100,000 Sfarim in this library. To get a book at that time before digital printing was huge. And he did it. And it was a beautiful building. It was built, Lo Aleinu, the building was never destroyed by the Nazis. When they came in, they destroyed the Talmidim who were left. They took out the 20,000 Sfarim and they burnt them in public. All the Jews came as a sort of a levaya to these Sfarim. And history records that the crying and the wailing was so loud in Lublin over the fall of Yeshivas Chachmei Lublin and the burning of the Sfarim that the Nazis, Yimach Shemon V'Zichron, couldn't stand the noise, so they brought in a Nazi band to play loud so nobody would hear the cry. But the Jews were not defeated. The Jewish community was mischazek. It didn't last in Lublin. Actually, there's a shul there in that building today. Kadosh Baruch Hu kept an eye on the building. But it's not about the building. It's about Rabbanim and Rosh Yeshivas that came out and went over to it. It's about the chizuk that Klal Yisrael received from our Mayor Shapiro, who said, we've got to do something which is beautiful for Klal Yisrael, and we have to let people know what we stand for and who we are and what we want to accomplish. And Torah is about kavod, and Torah is about ahava, and Torah is about the type of, that it's prestigious to be a frum Jew. It's not something that your grandfather did. Mayor Shapiro turned around Polish Jewry. I have no, by the way, aspirations of being the Mayor Shapiro of our times, but I do have a lot of hope for you. And I think that there are today the existential threat from outside. If you could do something about it, please do it. Most of us don't have the co-op to do something begashmius to turn around the world and their attitudes and their Iranians, etc. However, Chazal say that when we're threatened from the outside, we must build from the inside. This is not one Chazal, but it's hundreds of Chazals and hundreds of periods in history. So our part in being Master Torah Liyoshna should end off in this building, but it has to start and it has to grow from a very, very deep place, I believe, L'man Hashem and L'man Yisrael. We're all Lishma here. There's mamish not a drop of Shaloi Lishma in this room. I always say, all of us that moved from Chutzlars to Eretz Yisrael, we didn't move here to get rich, right? I mean, what do we move here for? We moved here because we want to be part of the historical process. We want to be closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We want to devote our lives to Torah and to Yiddishkeit as much as we can. And we want to become tzaddikim. That's what we all want. We want to become tzaddikim. So become tzaddikim. Or I should say, become bigger tzaddikim. That's what we need to do. And we need a building for the tzaddikim and for our children who will be tzaddikim, Yirtzeh Hashem. So, let's create a place with such a ruach that there should be a line outside the door with people asking, how do we get into this place? And I'm not talking about grabbing people from different shuls. I'm talking about even people that don't go to shul, or people that have frustration inside of them and they don't know why they're going to shul or to learn. They should be lined out the door. This is so beautiful, you just have to see it. And you'll be hooked. That's what I'm thinking about. Make Yiddishkeit meaningful. Forget the politics. One of the things that I'm proudest of being the Rav of this Kehillah is not that we have like a number of different kinds of yarmulkes going on over here. It's that nobody really cares. Mamish, nobody cares. Dress with a strime while you work. This kind of keep it, that kind of keep it. Even though it's a change, I keep it every week. It's not where it's at, ladies and gentlemen. It's not where it's at. Where it's at is Rahmana Libaboy. Where it's at is in the Torah. Where it's at is in the Chesed. That's where it's at. Where it's at is in the kindness and in the emeskite of what's going on. I believe that if we can succeed together, first of all, I believe we can succeed. And I don't think that it's about Teva. I think it's about Ness. I think we have to do somewhat of Hishtadlus, and we're simply doing Hishtadlus with a team of people that we have doing Hishtadlus, and now everybody's going to join the team. I believe we'll be Zochah to a Ness. It's like the Bayis Shlishi. We build it, so then the rest will come. Shemayim. Let me end with saying this. We read this today. Vatikach Miriam Hanavia Achos Aaron Satoch Biyada Vatetzeno Kol Hanoshim Achareha B'Tufim U'B'Muchelos. I want you to stop for a second and just in your mind, maybe close your eyes for a second and picture this scene. There was at least 1.5 million women that came out of Mitzrayim. Miriam called and said, let's say Shira. Everybody pulled out a tambourine from their backpack. And 1.5 million women, just listen to the sound. We're singing Shiru Hashem, Ki Go'o Go'o, hitting their tambourine. Every single woman. There wasn't one that was left without the tambourine. The Gemara asked the question, where did they get the tambourines from? Only Gemara can ask the question. Where'd they come from? Tupim Bamidbar? Where'd they get them from? 1.5 million. It's not the kind of thing you could share. Everybody had to have their own. Where'd they get them from? So the answer says Chazal that when they were packing up to leave Mitzrayim, so they were told by the tzaddikim and by the tzidkonios, don't forget the tambourines, because there are going to be miracles. And there's going to be times during your sojourn that you're going to have to celebrate, and you have to have the tambourine. You have to have the keli. Could you imagine this? Can you imagine the people getting ready to leave? Makelchem b'yedchem, nalechem b'raglechem. They're all ready to go, and the Safta calls out, "Where's the tambourine?" You need the tambourine. And this was the godless, the beauty of Klal Yisrael, that they knew in advance, as avodim, as people that have been suppressed for centuries, they knew that we're going to have to celebrate, and they already put in their backpack the celebration. So the Shira ended, both for the men and the women. Mikdash Hashem, Konanu Yodecha. That means that Konanu, ultimately HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we're saying Shira, not only because we left Mitzrayim, and not only because we had a Kriyas Yamsuf experience, and not even only because we're coming to Har Sinai, and not even because we're going to Eretz Yisrael, but Mikdash Hashem, this is what they saw. We're going to hold on to these tambourines, and Mikdash Hashem Konanu Yadecha, because we want a base on Mikdash. We need that building. We need the central headquarters. We need to make the statement to the world of what Klal Yisrael is, because is that not our whole tachlis? To be a light unto the nation. So the windows of the Beis HaMikdash have to be designed as such that the light goes out. No noise, the light. Light has to come out. We should be zocha, Rabbi say, let's start tonight to build. Kadosh Baruch Hu will dedicate one wall in that Beis HaMikdash to Kehillas Shivtei Yeshurun. This will be the KSY wall. I'm going to lobby for which wall it is. I want it to be a chashuv wall. But we should all be zoch. We should daven for our project and the big project of the big day of the Binyan Beis HaMikdash. Shavua Tov u'Mvarach.